Hello and welcome to the Gauntlet podcast. I'm
Hey,
Zach. This is Dom.
I'm Dom.
This week we're going to be reviewing the movie The Lost City, starring Channing Tatum and Sandra Bullock.
Relatively new.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
Yeah.
But we're going to jump right in with some reviews on Rotten Tomatoes.
See what they got to say.
Yes. So, Rotten Tomatoes, the tomato meter gave it a 79%.
Really?
Not terrible. Certified fresh, 79%. The audience score is 83%. So the audience liked it a little better than the reviewers or the critics.
Huh.
So, you know what's interesting about this is that there are no, on the page here, negative reviews.
Really?
I mean, I could probably find, if I dug a little more.
Right. That's interesting.
On the main page. So
yeah,
let's read a couple of them. This person says, certified top critic. Ultimately, there's not much to recommend The Lost City beyond a degree of unpretentious good nature, plus the appeal of its stars. But depending on your fondness for Bullock and Tatum, that may be enough to make you feel you haven't been robbed. I don't know why this person gave it a positive review then. If
that sounds like a negative review. Yeah, I mean, I liked the cast. You got Radcliffe and Pitt and Tatum and Bullock. Like those are pretty star-studded cast. Although Pitt wasn't in it very long. I was not expecting that. Sorry, spoilers. But yeah, I mean, I liked the actors, but I guess like they're saying that's like really the only takeaway. I guess
that's interesting. I wonder why. That sounds more like a negative review, but okay. This person says The Lost City is exactly the kind of throwback rom-com adventure that is elevated from fine to riotous thanks to the presence of Sandra Bullock. So that person likes it.
I'd say so. She's pretty good.
You know what's interesting here? I just realized it's right in front of my face. There are 250 critics. The top critics. There are 59 top critics. The number of fresh reviews is 198. The number of rotten reviews is 52. So that also reflects people's take on it.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay, one more, and then we'll get into some general movie breakdown. This top critic says, The Lost City, for the most part, finds that sweet spot between goofy and sincere, especially during the scenes where Tatum's Alan tries to match up to the mercenary hired to rescue Loretta, played by none other than Brad Pitt. Yeah. I mean, that's taking a very small portion of it and blowing
exactly
the whole movie.
Yeah,
but they're not wrong there.
They're not. Yeah, definitely. I'd say that matches.
Yeah,
that particular part.
Mm-hmm. One thing I did like about this film is that Oscar was in it from The Office.
Oh yeah, I noticed that.
It's funny. I've seen him in a lot of different things. Like he's never like a main role,
right?
He's just like this funny comedic relief.
Just funny because he's in The Proposal with Sandra Bullock too. Yeah.
He just plays this role on the side that's funny.
Yeah.
Okay, so in general, IMDb gave it 6.1 out of 10, which isn't great. It's not bad, but just above average.
I'd say that's probably where I'd put it. Maybe? Yeah. Like I didn't love it. True. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't like awesome.
Yeah. And then Metacritic gave it a 60%. So all of the platforms are kind of similar.
Yeah, no, it's matching up.
Yeah. Okay, but to get into some movie breakdown.
Yeah.
So, shoot, what do you have?
So as a whole, like, it had the same feel as Red Notice. It was obviously way better than Red Notice. Like the way they executed it, I thought. Well, there was two characters really instead of three, right? Tatum and Bullock, and or Alan and Loretta. I thought like it was original. It was kind of an original concept. Sort of like the fact that like or it wasn't really actually because like I could predict the entire movie with like oh Radcliffe's the bad guy, he wants her to do this because she has connections to it, and then Alan's gonna go with her, they're gonna fall in love along the way, blah blah blah. But I did like how it was really like they were saying it was fresh, like you knew what was happening, but it was that type of movie. Like it wasn't supposed to be a blockbuster or totally original. It was just like a comedy that you can kind of predict, and I didn't really mind that I could predict it. I was just hoping that the sincere moments, like they're saying, paid off, Like I didn't want that to get lost in the jokes or all the other stuff.
Yeah.
'Cause, yeah, I feel like it was a little too flighty, and yeah, there wasn't enough meat to it, I don't think,
Mm,
for
mm.
me in terms of a breakdown. But yeah, what about you?
I actually kind of wrote similar things in my notes where,
Yeah.
yeah, the story, the plot is pretty familiar
Mm.
most of the way through, but there's some originality, and
Yeah.
some of the jokes and the fun are yeah, shot of something more original, which I
Right.
did
This is a
appreciate.
fresh.
And then, like you said, like since it is a comedy, and most I feel like a lot of different comedies they kind of have similar story tropes because the point of interest is not necessarily the plot as it is how funny is it going to be because it's a
Right.
comedy, so
Yeah.
it's between the characters and the jokes and the play off each other.
Right.
But I feel like it started off pretty good. I mean, the pacing of it all.
Yeah, I did.
Like
I felt
after the
that too.
kidnapping in the beginning, it kind of jumps right into it.
Yeah.
And I mean, it is familiar, but
Yeah.
I thought in general it was yeah, similar to Red Notice, the
Yeah.
movie we always refer back to, the
Right.
Netflix original that
Right.
sucked in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Horrible.
but it was similar but better. That was my
Yeah, I thought that too. Literally, right after she was kidnapped, and they arrive on the island, I had the thought of how it's a lot like Red Notice, but they really packaged it better. Like it
Mhm.
felt more solid,
Yeah.
not just because you knew what was going on, because you did in Red Notice too.
Mhm.
But I felt that it just moved better. Maybe like there was more
Yeah.
concrete action being taken, because like she's living her normal life, then she's at the signing, and then signing or presentation, whatever she's at, and then suddenly, boom, she's on the island. It's like such a
Yeah.
drastic change so
Yeah.
quickly.
Mhm.
Really showed. Also, I loved all the language shit because I'm into languages. So
Yeah, that
that
was
part was
cool.
cool with the
Yeah.
translating and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, so I did appreciate that part. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's. I guess that kind of gets us into character
Yeah,
development.
it's a character development.
Yeah.
I thought in general, it wasn't bad for Alan and Loretta.
Yeah.
Um, then they were the main characters, so
Right.
that's where you want.
And in a movie like this, you don't really expound too much on a bad
Exactly.
guy, other
Character
than my
development
daddy
for a
hurt
bad
me.
guy. Yeah, it's not as important, I would say.
Right.
Although I wish there was a little more, maybe. But again, he's only in a few scenes because
Yeah.
the comedy and the story revolves around Loretta and Alan.
Mhm.
As the character development for them go, I felt like for the most part it was pretty good. I felt like maybe there was a portion or a part where Alan kind of jumped from dumb to suddenly more competent,
Yeah.
but then he kind of fluctuated.
He did,
Um,
yeah.
and it
Also,
was
that's a
fine.
death sentence to a movie, in your words. If you say, "I thought it was pretty good," like that means it was,
Oh,
because knowing you, because if it was good, you'd be like, "Dude,"
true. If it was good, I would be very
Yeah,
passionate about it.
yeah.
But
Because I feel
yeah,
the same way. Yeah,
yeah. In general, yeah. Anyway, what was your take?
yeah. I mean, was there really any development? I mean, maybe just in the sense that she realizes, oh, I don't need to hide anymore. I don't need to be afraid to let life hurt me
That's
again.
true.
Like I can
Yeah,
find a new love. I don't know. It was
the
maybe,
characters didn't
maybe
really have much of an arc.
I,
Um,
I think it's because it was like a romance novel. you
it,
know, I
you
just think
know,
at the
and
end,
I
I
I
was
was
like,
thinking that as I was watching it, I'm like, this is like a romance novel, and I'm like, they
yeah,
probably did this on purpose.
yeah,
So I can't really fault them because it looks like it was done on purpose to reflect like a
right. Because I mean, it would make
quality romance
sense
novel.
based on who she is and everything.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah,
like the end and everything of like, oh, it wasn't a treasure, it was their love. I was like,
yeah.
huh, okay,
Okay,
interesting. Of
this is
course.
not a national treasure sort of movie where
Exactly.
they
I was
find
like, come
all the
on, because
treasures.
it shaped up just like it, down to them going along the edge and a guy falling. Like it was
I know,
literally like
yeah,
National Treasure.
yeah, like national
Um,
treasure. Yeah,
and but it wasn't in the end because there was no
it
real
was their
treasure
love.
except for love. Like, okay, that's great, but they're dead,
They're
So
dead. So
where's what they leave behind? No. Yeah, for me, it was kind of like they developed
Which honestly,
as wide as they could, given what they were given in terms of story.
true. I agree with that. Also, I don't know how. I don't know of any culture that ever buried their king and queen without any riches. So
Seriously.
the
Yeah.
city, what was it? The lost city of D must have been very
Of D.
strange indeed.
Yeah, really strange. Because it was like, yeah, I don't understand that.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so
But hey, it was supposed to be like a romance novel.
exactly.
So, what's
So-
up?
Protagonist and antagonist breakdown.
Yeah.
There was not much to it. There actually in the beginning there was a little, because he kidnaps her, he's
Yeah.
forcing her to
Right. They actually communicated, right?
yeah.
It wasn't,
Um,
he didn't spout typical bad guy lines like he did in the end, you know?
Yeah, what was nice about that I mean, it wasn't, obviously it's a comedy, so it wasn't very in depth. It wasn't like some drama or anything. But what was nice was they introduced the two at the beginning, and they have a lot. Not, well, they have a good amount of shared screen time.
Right.
And lines back and forth.
Yeah.
So there are some things established that do carry for the rest of the movie. So that was one
Right.
good thing about that.
Yeah.
But aside from that part of the beginning, there wasn't much playoff except for the fact that they're just he's Harry Potter's chasing the
Exactly.
blind side lady all over the jungle.
Could not see him as anyone else other than Harry Potter.
I saw him, I'm like, Harry, you can grow quite a beard. Nice.
Goodness, what you got going there, my man? Yeah. You know what the biggest disaster of this movie is?
What?
The saddest part of this entire movie is that all of that cheese gets blown away.
Oh my gosh. Yes, all that, those cheesy
I
crackers.
saw them like,
amazing.
oh, the cheese.
Didn't
There's
even
so much
touch
cheese.
it. It just poof,
Blew away. It was so sad.
blew away. Yeah.
But yeah, no, for me, yeah, antagonist, protagonist. I really wish there was more of an original take on that. It felt really 2D and cliche, or not cliche, but just original, just basic.
Yeah, and I know
Vanilla,
it's not,
right?
yeah, I know it's not as important for a comedy, but it is still important for any story to have the antagonist and
'cause it's like,
protagonist.
oh, the good guy sees the value of the treasure when it's not really physical, and the bad guy's like, no, where's my riches? It's like, that's okay. That's been
Yeah.
done a million times.
Yeah.
But they could have done it like that still because it's a comedy, right? But I
Mhm.
wish they would have like inserted a few more things that would have made those aspects of it less potent, you know, maybe a little more one-on-one time. Protagonist, like if she was like she was in the armored truck,
Mhm.
he
conversation,
could have talked
more
to
of a
him.
conversation there.
Right, like he was gonna get into it, but then they cut it because Alan was
Exactly.
talking.
Like he was about to explain some backstory of why he's doing what he's doing.
Right.
And I was like, oh, that'll be important. And then they cut it to insert some jokes and
Right.
some action.
So
which
it's like,
wasn't
oh,
terrible. It was
apparently
still
this
a
part's
fine
not
part.
important, which I mean, it's not like a huge fault because like we say in the description below, is we're not here to just judge a movie based on what we like, but if the directors told the story the way they were trying to tell it, right? So based on the way they're trying to do it, it works because it's a comedy, right?
Yeah.
The bad guy's backstory isn't as potent. But yeah, I guess we should really move on because we're gonna run out of time.
True. All right. So on to acting.
Acting. What do you got?
For me, I mean, it was fine.
It was an all-star cast, so they're all pretty good.
Yeah, like there was nothing that called for anything drastic.
Yeah.
And when it came to acting, it was all pretty straightforward and just like, oh, it's a comedy. Like, say your jokes correctly, and there's some parts where you might exclaim. But aside from that,
yeah.
Aside from that,
it's such a rarely used word. Oh my gosh. Exclaim. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
aside
like
from that, there wasn't much.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. I think it's funny because the entire time, the first movie I ever saw Sandra Bullock in, well, technically I didn't see her, was Prince of Egypt, right? So I hear Miriam the entire movie.
Oh my goodness, you're right. I forgot that was her. Yeah.
So that voice just gets me. And then I just see Channing Tatum from like 21 Jump Street, you know, and it's hilarious. So I don't know, like I have a hard time picturing them outside of that. But yeah, so acting, they were all really good for what they were supposed to do.
Yeah.
And they're all, I'm not about to criticize any of them. They're all really
good they're actors. All great actors. Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that kind of wraps up that segment though, because it's like it was really good.
I do gotta say, I do love the casting choice for Brad Pitt in that little instance when he's like suave trainer,
Right,
Jack
dude, and his
trainer.
fighting skills were like
It
they were
was super cool.
exaggerated, but not like they were pretty darn exaggerated, but they were still cool. You know,
Yeah,
like they didn't make
yeah.
it totally unbelievable. It's like,
That
oh,
whole sequence of him going in
right,
and
just taking
Tatum
everyone out.
behind him, like freaking out and trying to
Yeah,
help was a
yeah,
great sequence.
that was I really like that part.
Mhm.
I was not expecting just out of the blue,
No,
boom.
I guess he didn't die based on the ending scene. Did you watch the ending credit
It was an
scene?
ending scene.
Yeah,
What?
it's in the credits.
Damn it! I just went blurry. I didn't
So
see the credits.
what happened was it
Maybe
fades
11.
into Alan and yeah, like 11, yeah.
Yeah.
Major Things.
Yeah.
It fades into Alan and dang it, what's her name?
Loretta.
Loretta, I blanked
Yeah.
out. Loretta sitting in a little place doing yoga, and they're like, eyes are closed.
Yeah.
And then the camera pans around, and Jack Trainer's behind them, and he's like looking at them both, and he's like, "Hey!" And they turn around, like, "Whoa, you're alive!" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, Tatum's like, "I had your brains in my mouth."
Dude, I heard that from the other room. I heard him say, I thought it was like a blooper or something.
No, and then he's like, only 10% of the bread. I'm using the other 10%. And then he's like, "Yeah, I got pretty mad. You guys just left me there." He's like, "Yeah, we thought you were dead." He's like, "Yeah," and they kind of make it look like he's like really mad at them, but he's in a yoga place trying to be calm about it.
Right.
Then it ends. That's it.
Dude, I didn't
So
know
I was
that.
like, okay, that's kind of
Well, that's kind of fun. I was expecting him to be dead. I didn't want him to
Yeah.
be dead. It's pretty cool.
yeah. But okay, so because it's a comedy, we inserted 3 new categories and took out 3 old ones that don't really relate because they're more like for a drama.
The
Or
Gauntlet is evolving.
Exactly. So for comedies, we now have 3 new categories: jokes. Well, when it comes to comedies, at least,
Right.
jokes, serious moments, and conclusion. Which I think so. With jokes, obviously, are very important in comedy.
Right.
Because that's what makes it funny.
Mhm.
Serious moments we have in because I feel like serious moments in comedy can make or break it because
Yeah.
you need something.
You need the
You
contrast.
can't just have constant
Right.
jokes, otherwise they're not funny anymore and it gets lame.
Yeah.
So that's why I feel like, well, that's why comedy movies, they insert moments of feeling or serious moments. So
Yeah.
we have that in there. And then I feel like the conclusion of a comedy, obviously the conclusion for any movie and story is very important. But when it comes to a comedy, I feel like it's super important because you're trying to wrap up the crazy movie, because comedies are normally crazy movies, story, like it's all over the place. And you need to wrap it up in a reasonable fashion and in a concise way. Otherwise, it's almost like closing a door with somebody's hand stuck in it and like it just
Right.
it bounces
Because
over,
I mean,
and it's painful.
stories about the ending.
And it's just
right?
like it's kind of weird. And you're like,
Comedies
yeah,
are no exception. Yeah.
So anyway, jokes. Jokes is a new category. Okay. For this movie, I gotta say, I laughed out loud.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
Like there was some genuinely funny stuff in this movie.
Yeah.
And that I feel like carries it.
Yeah.
In a big
I
way.
think, like, the best part for me was when it's like we don't have time, we can't get her out of the chair. They're like pushing her away in the wheelbarrow.
I know, and then it blows up. That was hilarious.
And they're just like, and Alan's trying to help, so he's like holding onto her foot.
Yeah.
And they're just like going. Oh, that was the best part. I thought, like, oh shit.
Yeah, there was they really, I'd say 90% of the jokes in this movie were hits.
Right.
In contrast to
Red
Notice, where they also kind of had the same amount of jokes, where it was just these quips throughout the movie.
Right.
And I felt like in Red Notice, almost all of them missed. And this one, I felt like almost all of them hit. There were a few where you're like, okay, that's kind of
why is that?
But then
why would they do that?
But
not why would they do that, but why is that? It's like maybe because they made you care for the characters beforehand, so you cared what they were saying about more.
That probably helped a lot, yeah. And then also it wasn't like, I don't know, staged might be the word to use. Where in Red Notice you can almost tell. Obviously, okay, you have Reynolds and The Rock. You're expecting what they tried to do,
right? Like a funny contrast of stern man.
Exactly. Here's a stern, big muscle man, and here's a jokester.
Right.
And so you're like, okay, well, yeah, we know. And then you're like, okay, well, this isn't funny anymore.
Right.
Get on with the story. we know you're going to try to do this because of who's in it.
Right. It's just
In
about
this
like,
case,
yeah,
it's almost more fresh.
yeah, because like they, yeah, it's like you knew from the beginning, like they weren't just trying to get you in based off the cast. Maybe I don't know. Maybe they were because they were still famous people. But I don't
feel
know.
like
Like it just,
I feel like it comes down to the planning of it.
yeah,
Like the
it feels way more
planning,
real.
like the dynamic of Red Notice to the planning and dynamic of the Lost City.
Mhm.
I feel like Lost City just did better
Yeah,
than Red Notice
yeah,
in execution of the dynamics that were all at play.
right.
I don't know. I guess I don't know for sure, but that would be my explanation if I had to give
Right.
one.
They just, I don't know, they just blend it way better. Okay. Serious moments. Because here's the deal. If you want, like, a comedy is much more, say you got light and dark, right? You got a room that's got a little bit of shadow, right? But it's mostly bright and light. That's a
Mhm.
comedy. But you still need a little bit of shadow to see the light even better. Not too
Exactly.
much
Yeah.
shadow. Not like a drama, right?
Exactly.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
So the moments here, like when he's like, well, how would you describe me? It's like, she's like, I know you. He's like, you're pretty open book,
Mhm.
He's like, well, describe me, or what am I then? And she
Mhm.
says, like, that was one of the more serious moments.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like character defining moments, maybe not really defining, but moments like that, I thought they were inserted just enough to really make you care a
Yeah.
little
There
bit.
were only like I'd say 3 or 4, maybe
Right.
2 or 3, where there you could tell this was a serious moment, and like the one
Right.
you said. And I feel like
The campfire, that's good. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
I
one.
feel like 90% of the time they hit, maybe
Oh yeah,
80%.
yeah.
They were pretty good. In contrast to, like you said.
Right, because like the entire pace of the movie, like everything matched up with the actors talking, right? It wasn't like they were trying to have a deep moment amidst like a fast-paced scene. Like everything would
Yeah.
slow down for a moment, right?
Yeah.
And just take a breather, right? Because when you're working out, everyone knows, or when you're exercising or doing anything, right? You got to take a few minutes break, then go back to it, right?
Exactly.
We got your rest periods, right? It's same
Mhm.
with a story.
Yeah.
You can't just go, 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 go. So
Yeah.
it's like you need a period where the audience, the characters, forget about the plot of the movie for a few minutes and just connect on a human level, right? It's like the cruise
Exactly.
where
Yeah.
the cantina scene where like they're in the tree and they're just talking and they forget
Yes.
for a brief moment that the world's falling apart until they're
Yes.
reminded by a big crack, like that kind of thing.
Yes. That's a perfect example.
You need
For
the
those who have seen the
characters,
cruise.
because think about it, in real life, what do? Like we drink on the weekends. Well, sometimes like we relax, we unplug from our
Yeah.
work and we on the weekends.
Yeah.
Movies need more weekends. It's
Yeah,
like,
that's a great point.
right.
Great example.
It's
Yeah.
like the characters have to forget what they're doing for a little bit just to connect with each other and then go back to it instead
Yeah.
of just, go, 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 go. I think. I don't know. Which is
That's
what those scenes did for me. It's like they just,
Yeah.
because I forgot about everything else but the moment,
Yeah.
which is what it's supposed to do. So
Perfect.
I
I
appreciate
agree.
that.
That was great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So script writing.
Yes, script writing. Okay.
I feel like in general, the jokes were great. The
Mhm.
story was a little weak as
Mhm.
comedies go.
Yeah.
And the characters were all right. Alan and Loretta were the best. The rest were pretty weak. I really didn't like her publisher's little story.
Yeah, I don't know why they kept coming back to that.
It was
Like
pretty
she didn't really
random.
matter
It
to the story.
didn't matter at all, I feel.
Right. Maybe they were
Um,
doing it for like a way to get away from them and then come back or
I
something.
think so, but I felt like it didn't really work out.
It didn't, because it's just, we knew they'd be saved in the end already.
Yeah.
We don't really want to see her journey to get there. It's like,
Yeah.
because it's not about her, So I
Exactly.
don't know. Although that's how we got to see Oscar in The Goat. So
Yes. So, bittersweet.
exactly. Yeah.
I felt like all the things pertaining to the Lost City part of
Mhm.
the story were kind of shoved in at the end,
Yeah.
which didn't help with the flow of the story that much. Because I mean, I get kind of the what they were thinking. Like, okay, it's the beginning. She's kidnapped. Rescue her. She's kind of rescued. Then they're being chased.
Mm.
The dynamic between the two, they're getting closer. They're getting to know each other a little better. The romance part of the story is kind of blossoming, if you say that. And then second plot point. Oh, let's shove in the Lost City of D, which is
Right.
part of the book,
Right.
which was, referenced on, obviously, with she was supposed to translate the hieroglyphs that he has
Right.
for him. But then it's kind of forgotten a bit, and they're just running through the jungle.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, we're at the last quarter, let's shove in more of it, which I've seen. I mean, I've seen lots of stories and movies that do that.
Yeah.
And I don't really like it ever.
I
because
don't. It felt
it
kind of
seems
like
rushed and
like Uncharted to me. Remember? Because like
yeah, a bit
Uncharted,
like that too.
it's like, oh, they finally get there, then it's just kind of rushed at the end. It's
Yeah.
like you kind of wish there was a moment, dude. Even if they took 30 seconds to show the characters go together, maybe, then the audience could appreciate, oh, they
Exactly.
appreciate that they're here.
Exactly.
We're
And to
here with
reference
them.
even maybe before, like to have maybe Loretta say something along the lines of, oh, maybe we should look for it anyway.
Right.
Or instead of just running, something like that, some thread of like, because I feel like it's the beginning and end. The Lost City of D is in both.
Right.
There's no real. I feel like there's not much of a thread connecting the two.
Right, because then it's suddenly they're in the village, and it's like, oh,
yeah,
we can get to it first. It's like, oh, let's do it. It's like, oh, there's a thought. How about you're
Exactly.
looking for it the whole time or something?
Yeah, and I feel like as you said, Uncharted kind of did that. I feel like that was one of my major problems with the first Thor movie. That came out, I was like 16. I did not like the story at all.
Boring.
I really wanted to, and I was like, this kind of sucks.
Like, to be honest, they just got better as they went. The second one was first one was third one was really good.
Yeah, and I can't wait. I need to see the fourth one.
Forgot
with that one.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, just like nothing, like reference to what's gonna happen, maybe then barely anything, and then boom, it's all in the end. It's just feels like an incomplete meal.
Yeah, that's true. It's like, where was the main course? You got the
Exactly.
appetizer and the dessert. It's like, yeah, but the main part, where's the biggest part? Like the middle section is supposed to be like the fattest part of a story. Yeah, I don't know. That's that's confusing to me. I was expecting something a little more nutritious.
Yeah, and I think the jokes really helped carry it because there were a lot of areas that were lacking. But anyway, I guess we're starting we're getting into the review of the actual review. We're not there yet.
Yeah.
So surprisingly, we don't have the timer saying we have 10 minutes left yet. I thought we would. But all right.
Let's look at what's time to actually grade it well.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. I just went blurry.
Yeah.
So conclusion. Conclusion, like we said, for comedies.
How's it all wrap up? And
it's very important.
All these elements, how they fit together like a puzzle piece. As a very story. Is it, do you walk away satisfied? Right. Yeah.
And when it comes to The Lost City, I feel like in general, the conclusion was pretty good. They wrapped it up. I mean, it wasn't perfect, but I liked how like in most stories or in stories like this, the villain catches up with them, they get captured, and then they go to the final destination together.
Right. Just like National Treasure.
It's a familiar story trope.
Yeah.
And I feel like they did it pretty good in this one. There was like we talked about, the little kind of cliche thing of there's no treasure. It was really just their love.
It's just their love.
And then the villain's like, I want the treasure though, that sort of thing. Yeah. But in general, I feel like that was pretty good. And then the way they escaped, the henchman leaves the crowbar. Like it was pretty original in that sense of they actually get buried and then they get out because of the help. And then
like one guy
then
helps.
the henchman abandons the guy because he it was his island. He lived on his island, and he was disrespecting his heritage.
Yeah, and I'm like, holy crap! Like, of all the things, like I would try to get the gun from Radcliffe. I'd rather be shot than buried alive.
I know. I thought that too. I'm like,
it's like, why wouldn't you at least try to get the gun? You're way bigger than this guy. Come on.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway,
but then them getting away, leading to them being rescued, and then the end wrapping up with she wrote the story of their adventure, and it was a success, and then they end up on the beach and they're happy. And
I feel like
in general it's pretty good.
For
the story.
It finished like they're on the beach, all the elements that they put in play were resolved, which was great, right? For the story they're telling. It didn't personally satisfy me, but that's not what we're doing. It for what it was, they wrapped it up pretty well, I thought,
I
for what they
agree.
were trying
Yeah.
to say.
I feel like
I would have liked to
comedy,
see more,
yeah. Comedies, they have a tendency to open up a ton of different boxes.
Yeah.
And then at the end, they close maybe half of them. And then
Yeah.
then the audience is like, they feel incomplete a bit, but they're laughing and they're not
Right.
sure how to feel and they leave
Well,
the
at least it
theater
was funny.
or turn
Yeah.
off the TV. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like this one, like you said, it wrapped up a lot of those loose ends.
Mhm.
Maybe not all of them, but most of them.
Yeah. So it's
So
like it leaves you feeling a lot more satisfied than, say, your typical comedy movie. Okay, we got the warning. 8:45 left. Okay.
all right, let's review
So
this
let's grade.
sucker. Grade
Let's do
it.
Okay, movie breakdown. See, I'm gonna be a lot more strategic with this. This isn't the Patriot here. I'm not about to be like, oh, it's so good. Check.
Exactly.
Let's do this strategically. Movie breakdown. I'd say it was cohesive. I'll give it a check. So I'll give that part a check right there for me. What do you think? What you got?
I'm going to give it an X.
Okay.
Because I didn't like the no thread of the lost city of D
Right.
until the end, the beginning and end, and then it's been in the middle.
Yeah. The whole concept is hilarious.
Yeah. Like it wasn't bad, but I feel like you really need that thread at least.
Oh yeah.
The entire story, otherwise it
It's
feels
true.
it nothing's congruent at the end.
Yeah.
So that's why.
All right. Character development. What do you say? Because I know what I'm gonna say.
I'm gonna say no.
Yeah. No.
Just because there wasn't much of it.
There was exactly. Where was it?
Yeah.
Wait, there was character development.
Wait, character development. What?
They did that? I missed that part. Anyway.
That was a thing.
Yeah. All right. Antagonist, protagonist.
I'm gonna say yes, just
really?
because the beginning they really laid some groundwork.
Okay.
Like carried it through to the end.
All right.
Because it's a comedy, so it's not going to be intense. But
yeah, I was saying no purely because it's a comedy, true. I just kind of wish he wasn't in it much. There wasn't much of a. I wasn't worried. It's a comedy, so I shouldn't be like worried for the characters. But there wasn't much of a force coming up against them. I guess maybe there was, but I didn't think so. So I'm gonna give it an X.
Okay.
All right. Acting.
I'm gonna say yes.
I was gonna say yes too because they're awesome.
And it filled the box that needed to be filled.
Oh, exactly. Like for what it was supposed to be, it exceeded that, I think.
Exactly.
It's not bad at all.
Yeah.
Jokes.
Hell I'm gonna give it yes, definitely.
Hell yes. These were hilarious.
This was a funny movie.
Yeah.
Regardless of any plot holes or lacking in story.
If lacking in depth, maybe, but
yeah,
it was so good. Serious moments.
I'm gonna say yes because it scored, I think, like 2 out of 3.
Yeah, I want to say X, but because like I don't really want this to pass, but I'm gonna say check because I did really like the 2 moments that I talked about, like the campfire and in the morning after that when they connected, because they both opened up and you kind of forgot about the rest of the plot for like a few seconds.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say check for that. Okay.
Script writing.
No,
I'm gonna give it an X.
Yeah.
Just because like the same at the beginning of the general movie breakdown, I felt like there was a gaping hole in the middle where the point, like the end of the story is they end up going and finding the grave of the lost city of D, of the ruler, and his queen, and there's nothing, there's a gaping hole in the middle, I feel like, of not even a reference to it really, in the sense of what the characters are eventually going to do. Like
Right.
there needs to be hints of the foreshadowing. That's what you do in stories.
Right. Because you don't know if she wants
what's
to
gonna
go there
happen
until
later.
she pulls out the thing. It's like, oh,
Exactly. And you
like,
know that they're going to based on this kind of story.
right.
But you're like, okay, well, when are they going to say they're going to go?
Exactly.
And then it's like right
Yeah.
in the last portion of the movie, you're like, well, it's kind of too much.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it an X as well.
Okay. And that leads us to the conclusion. I want to say yes because of like in general, they tied
Yeah.
up most of the loose ends.
Yeah.
But then also it felt rushed and shoved together because
Yeah, it really did.
there was
I don't know if I
nothing
like
running,
it.
there was no thread through the middle of the movie.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say
So-
X for that because I don't like how it was rushed.
Yeah, I'm gonna say X too because the conclusion, if it feels rushed, then it's not it's not very it's not good enough, I think. When it comes to breaking down a story.
We need a new segment because we tied.
Are you serious?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wait a minute. Yeah, we did. We tied. 8 on 8.
Okay, something off the top of your head.
Off the top of my head. Okay. Potency. No. I don't know.
Setting. Okay, so here's what we had. One of the segments in the running for the new ones for comedy was setting, like story setting.
Right.
And we took it out because we thought we thought we had too many.
Yeah.
So let's put it back in. Tiebreaker.
Okay.
The
Setting.
setting of the movie. So that means like basically like the set, like imagine like a play, like
Where it was.
what they picked.
Yeah, but if I say yes, you say no, we still tie. So I say
I was gonna say yes.
Okay, I was honestly yes, I was because like I said earlier,
Because
the beauty of the jungle and shit.
And I feel like in general, comedies need to have a dramatic setting because that helps propel the movie forward with the jokes.
Right.
Because the story is normally weaker.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you think of major comedies, like what's a famous comedy?
I almost said The Notebook. It's not a comedy at all.
Like think of Dumb and Dumber.
Right.
They go all over the place.
Right.
They're not in the same place because
and the plot is about like
the story and plot is pretty lacking. It's about jokes.
Yeah.
But you need new setting to tell new jokes, otherwise it gets old, I feel.
Right.
So if we insert that, then that makes the pass.
Right. Okay.
So it barely made it then.
It barely did. Like, dude, it was almost dead. They had to flip a coin.
Exactly. Quite a beating.
It really did. Because I didn't really want to see it pass. Because in my opinion, this doesn't really belong on the shelf. But it wasn't bad. But it did. And
what's funny is our review. It barely passed. It barely got over 50%.
Which is exactly
just like
all of everyone. It was always 6 out of 10. Dude, see, it flows. It's poetic.
See, it flows. Exactly.
It's good.
Because with that, it cool.
I like that.
Our review reflects all the other reviews.
How about that? We're like, this is great. Perfect. Okay.
Exactly. All right.
Next week we shall see what we're doing. And
we'll see you next week.
If you have any ideas, let us know below. And we shall consider reviewing that movie.
Exactly.
Probably something we haven't seen before, or maybe something.
Exactly.
I don't know. It'll be up in the air.
Yeah, I normally like to have it beforehand, but I've really been looking for new movies we haven't seen and that have more unique quality to them. So I'll get to looking and you'll find it next week.
Perfect.
Thanks for joining us. And
All right. Ciao.